So, how often do you meet with a typical guided small group?
Typical group is usually met with at least 3 times a week,
How often do you meet with struggling readers?
at least 4 times a week.
Which components of literacy did you address in your small guided group?
Comprehension.
And based on the small guided group, what are you going to do tomorrow with them?
We're going to just follow up with, after we met together and did a lot of the main ideas together, I'm just going to do that gradual release of responsibility, trying to get them to do a couple sections to find the main idea and then hopefully be able to address it independently.
What do you do with a student who just doesn't want to learn?
I found one of the things I've had to do with a few kids who the motivation was an issue was sometimes just moving them to a different group. I've had a few kids in some groups who kind of felt like the books were too easy for them and they wanted more of a challenge. They might not have been ready for it, but if the motivation's there, I'm going to give them a little bit more of a challenge. And the other kids I just have to spend a little bit more time on, or if it's a big group, I've sometimes had to split it up into 2 smaller groups just to be able to spend a little bit more time with them, and that seems to help.
And is there anything just generally in your classroom that you do to work with a student that doesn't want to learn, not specifically with reading, but just generally?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is just being able to spend time with them, ask them, about their weekend, or just to getting to know them a little bit more personally. Some of my kids and I, we email back and forth, and that helps, or even just keeping a journal back and forth, just to get that personal relationship going. And that seems to be the biggest obstacle, that if we can do that, then they become more motivated to learn.
And is there anything else that I didn't ask that you want to share, either about guided reading generally or guided reading with the specific group of students that we saw?
I'd say generally speaking, the hardest part for me this year has been getting the routine established for what the other kids are doing. And we've gotten to a pretty good system that seems to work with the different rotations, but it seemed to really take us a while for me to actually be able to focus on the 20 minutes with my group and trust that everybody else is doing what they're supposed to be doing. And it took a while, and it was frustrating. But with just staying with them and training them over and over again, I feel like we're there now.
And so they know not just what center or station to go to when they're not meeting with you, but they know what those expectations are by you being consistent with them and having those same expectations regardless of what rotation
Absolutely.
they're going to.
And a lot of times, like if I do something new with them, because they do get to a point where if we do the same rotations for a month, they get bored with it, and then that's when they get off task. But what I found, though, is when I switch it up, even if I just type them up a set of instructions, and even if they don't understand what number 3 means, let's say, they can at least go to a friend for some clarification and usually can solve that themselves, because at least they have something to go by.